At the XL bully ban, a bite at the solution or barking up the wrong tree. The XL bully ban is not a new law, however, it is the extension of pre-existing legislation of banned breeds under the Dangerous Dogs Act 1991. The legislation changed to include the XL bully from the 31st of October 2023. Breed standard legislation has long been central to debate and opposition. Banned breeds in the UK include the American Pit Bull, Japanese Tosa, Dogo Argentino, Fila Brasileiro, and now the XL bully. The decision to include the XL bully has sparked fierce debate, including protests, petitions, and opposition from leading agencies in the UK, with the RSPCA, Blue Cross, and Battersea Dogs Home publicly vocalising strong opposition. At the heart of the controversy surrounding the ban is the ethical dilemma of how to balance public safety with individual rights, and whether breed-specific legislation is not only effective, but is it morally justifiable. Ethical theories provide frameworks for determining right and wrong. Key approaches include deontology, which is duty-based, consequentialism, which is outcome-based, virtue ethics, character-based, and relativism, which is context-based. Utilitarianism is the most common ethical perspective. It's a consequentialist theory which, put simply, centres around balancing actions against what brings the most overall happiness while minimising suffering to the greatest number. So how does the XL ban stack up in terms of ethical justification? In the 3-year period leading up to the ban, 23 people lost their lives in XL bully attacks. Reports of deaths and maulings were widespread, with viral videos of attacks and media outlets posting sensationalised headlines about vicious dogs which were bred to kill, and used terminology of the similar nature seemed a daily occurrence. This was understandably followed by a widespread fear and led to growing pressure from news outlets and politicians that something must be done. The matter was debated in Parliament on the 15th of September 2023, and then Prime Minister Rishi Sunak announced the impending ban on XL bullies. From a utilitarian viewpoint, the primary goal is to reduce harm to the greatest number of people. So, the possible benefits of the ban. Supporters argue that the ban has the potential to reduce the number of incidents, therefore increasing public safety, which in turn should result in fewer injuries and deaths. A reduction in incidents could lead to reduced costs resulting from medical treatment, therefore reducing pressure on our already struggling NHS. This could result in an improvement in the psychological and emotional state of individuals who are frightened or phobic of large dogs. Furthermore, fewer incidents of dog attacks could make communities feel safer, particularly at-risk demographics such as the disabled, elderly or children. A successful reduction in incidents of this nature also naturally results in less harrowing news stories in the media. It's particularly difficult to dispel fear of a type of dog when you read stories of innocent children losing their lives or facing life-altering injuries as a result of an attack. If a ban can effectively reduce this, we could achieve greater peace of mind for the public overall. Utilitarian ethics would weigh the benefit of protecting human life against the costs of banning the breed. If the ban leads to fewer injuries or deaths from attacks and provides peace of mind to the greater population, it could be argued that it's ethically justified. Ultimately, if the breed doesn't exist in the UK, this would result in a 100% prevention of injury or harm from this specific breed of dog. When considered ethically, that's a pretty solid cost-benefit analysis. We need to consider the possible benefits for XL bullies themselves. The ban could lead to improved welfare in several ways. The lack of demand for puppies should reduce the instances of backyard breeding, particularly from unscrupulous individuals looking for a quick profit without care for breeding for temperament or health conditions. A banned breed with a list of specifications to follow would no longer be considered a fashion accessory. This should lead to reduced incidents of ear cropping and tail docking, which has been the desired look for this breed, resulting in less suffering for the dogs. Greater accountability for owners to have insurance, be registered and ensure safe conditions and behaviour means that dogs which may not have had access to appropriate care, training and treatment before now have the legal requirement to, which could lead to a reduction in cases of abuse and ill-treatment. A reduction in fear, death and injury, plus positive welfare implications for the dogs themselves all sounds great, but if it was that straightforward, why is it still such a contentious topic? What about XL bully owners' rights? Well, this is where it gets interesting. The ethical theory of utilitarianism also requires consideration of the consequences for responsible owners. Many of these owners feel their pets are being unfairly stigmatised, with emotional and financial consequences resulting from the ban. Not to mention the feelings of loss and unfair punishment, especially if their dogs are not involved in any violent incidents. To evaluate the ban from a utilitarian perspective, we must consider the effects on the well-being of these owners. If the harm done to the responsible pet owners is substantial, the overall happiness could be reduced. Therefore, the harm to responsible XL owners must be outweighed by the benefit to public safety to support the ethical justification. When we consider this again from a utilitarian viewpoint, most owners are responsible and their dogs are not causing harm. Therefore, the ban reduces the happiness of these individuals. Is it ethical to impose the ban then, or is it a form of collective punishment? Are responsible dog owners bearing the consequences of the actions of a few? If so, this could lead to resentment, feelings of injustice, and could lead to social discontent. Does the ban actually impede owners' rights? Responsible owners could argue it's an infringement of rights to own a dog of their choice, and many have lobbied the government to argue against the ban. In November 23, Parliament discussed a petition titled "Bad Owners are to blame for not the breed, don't ban the XL bully." The petition gained 621,046 signatures, which is illustrative of the level of opposition to this ban. There is undeniably a great deal of consequences for responsible dog owners. Facing the heartbreaking decision to comply with the financially expensive guidelines to keep their beloved pets, or the alternative, which was to euthanize them. With the country enduring the cost of living crisis and veterinary bills and pet insurance bills soaring, no doubt the legislation made it financially impossible for many to keep their beloved pets legally. The government offered financial compensation if the owners selected euthanasia, and data published by gov.uk in 23 stated that the government issued £13,600 in compensation in only 18 days following the ban, with news outlets reporting the cost now reaching over £70,000. The nature of the restrictions for XL bully ownership may have led many families feeling their only option was to choose the compensation scheme, as opposed to the significant and ongoing financial cost of complying with the regulations. When considering this again from a utilitarian viewpoint, does the significant financial and no doubt emotional distress caused by this decision affect the ethical justification for the ban? Whatever your personal feelings on dog breeders, there's undoubtedly a loss of income resulting from the XL ban. With puppies before the ban often achieving £1,500 per puppy, the XL bully puppy industry was undeniably lucrative, particularly during the cost of living crisis. With the requirements of the ban meaning all XLs must be neutered, it effectively put a permanent and immediate stop to this revenue source. Looping back to that utilitarian viewpoint, we need to consider a few factors. Breeders specialising in XL bullies face significant financial losses, and wider-reaching pet trainers, vets, behaviourists and those in the pet industry specialising in this breed will again see a reduction in revenue from XLs. When balancing the utilitarian ethics of this, does the cost of loss of earnings negatively affect livelihoods and therefore reduce the quality of life for those involved? And does the associated financial and emotional distress for those involved affect the ethical justification for the ban? One of the principal concerns regarding the XL bully ban is the term XL bully itself. XL bully is not a recognised breed, rather a term used to encapsulate features from several large breeds. The XL bully is not a specific breed, rather a set of specifications, including head measurement, coat, height and muscle mass. It presents difficulty as the features specified could pertain to many similar breeds, for example a Mastiff, Cane Corso or a particularly large Staffy. Any police officer can order a dog to be seized under suspicion of being a dangerous breed. But how can they identify a breed which isn't actually a breed? Any police officer has the authority to order a dog to be seized as potential type, however, receive no specific training on dog identification, and dogs seized on suspicion of type typically spend prolonged periods in kennels awaiting a suitably trained officer's official identification. The National Police Chiefs Council reported seizure of vast numbers of suspected types. specifically 4,586 in the 6-month period between February and September 2024. The same source reports kennel costs of up to £1,000 per month in kennels and a lead time of up to 18 months, putting extreme financial pressure on policing and resources. All factors which must be considered when appraising the ban from a utilitarian viewpoint. While XL bully type dogs await assessment, their temporary stay in kennels often adds to their distress. Kennels, while providing basic care, cannot replicate the home environment these dogs are accustomed to, offering limited social interaction, fewer opportunities for exercise, and a lack of mental stimulation. These factors can exacerbate the dog's fear or aggression and can lead to increased stress, anxiety, and behavioural issues, especially for dogs who were previously family pets. This could in turn lead to an unfair assessment of the dog's temperament and increase the probability of the dog failing a temperament test, which often results in euthanasia. Particularly worrying when this could have been a dog who might have been happy and balanced upon seizure but is now traumatised by their environment. We must consider the emotional and psychological costs to the dogs, the kennel handlers who care for them and no doubt bond with them during their detention, and the families and owners of the dogs to discern whether the ban is ethically justifiable in this instance. Any person can report a dog for being dangerously out of control, and police procedure means that the attending officer reports back to a senior officer not at the site, reporting the behaviour and risk to the public. A decision is then made whether to deploy firearms to destroy the animal or not based on that assessment. Very few responding police officers are trained to recognise the traits of dangerous, aggressive or out of control dogs, and yet the majority of decision making is based on that assessment. What protects dogs and their owners from malicious reporting? A person being frightened of a dog does not automatically make it a dangerous dog. In fact, research has shown that dogs labelled dangerous breeds, such as XL bullies, Rottweilers, Dobermans, etc., are more likely to be reported as aggressive when displaying equivalent behaviours to safe breeds, such as Golden Retrievers. Therefore, a dangerous breed's playful or fearful behaviours could easily be mistaken for aggression to an unfamiliar person. Distressing viral footage of XL bully type dogs being shot in the street has undoubtedly caused upset among the public, no doubt fueling arguments on both sides of the debate surrounding the ban. In January 2025, the Independent Office for Police Conduct concluded an investigation into the shooting of 2 dogs in East London. Footage of the incident went viral, with many outraged that the dogs were unjustly shot. Upon review of all resources, it was found the police acted appropriately and no further action was indicated. Clearly, the need to protect the public's physical and psychological safety is a priority. However, with the rise of viral videos and social media, the cost of the police defending these decisions, along with the harm caused to the police's reputation and the dynamic with the general public, must not be overlooked when appraising this from an ethical viewpoint. We must again consider the welfare implications for XL bullies. Those whose owners have complied with the restrictions must now be muzzled in public, even if they've never shown any signs of aggression, often resulting in sores, pain and distress for the dog. They are no longer permitted off lead, therefore reducing the amount of exercise, enrichment and interaction the dog can achieve on walks. Furthermore, owners of other large breeds may fear persecution that their breeds meet the XL bully conformation. This could lead to reduction in exercise and socialisation, leading to a potential increase in frustration and heightened risk of behavioural problems in breeds which aren't banned. Furthermore, the restrictions requiring all XLs to be neutered before a set date was a concern, as early neutering has been linked to health and behavioural concerns. So could this condition of the legislation be in fact a causative factor of a problem behaviour which did not exist before the ban? Any breed of dog can develop behavioural problems, but there is also the very real possibility that a responsible XL bully owner may not feel safe to contact a veterinary professional or behaviourist if an issue develops for fear of persecution. This could lead to devastating consequences in what could become a vicious cycle. In early 2025, a young woman was killed by her pet XL. It was later reported that in the weeks leading up to her death, she had searched online for help with hyperfixated behaviour in her dog. Could this have been a preventable tragedy if owners felt empowered to access behavioural help for banned breeds before the behaviour escalates? The RSPCA reported a staggering rise in reports of abuse and neglect of XL bullies and similar breeds since the ban. They further revealed that neglect cases had increased by 230% in the first 6 months following the ban. Reports of intentional harm reached a 96% increase, and abandonment increased by a massive 514% in just the first 6 months since the ban. The RSPCA feel the ban has catastrophically reduced the welfare of these dogs, with reports of dogs hurt or killed in extremely distressing and needlessly cruel circumstances. Disturbing stories such as dogs being found decapitated, drowned, or left for dead in cages highlight the alarming level of cruelty these animals face. While the ban was intended to reduce harm to humans, in order to appraise its ethical justification, we must consider the possibility that it may have contributed to a sharp rise in cruelty cases and left these dogs to endure unimaginable suffering. As a nation of dog lovers, news like this is extremely distressing, and we must consider if this harm to the animals and distress this causes to the humans affects the ethical justification for the ban. If nothing else, it illustrates the urgent need for a more compassionate, effective solution to managing dangerous dogs. So where does it end? So what are the overreaching implications of the ban? One concern is the increased pressure on other large breeds. There has been an increase in searches for other breeds, such as Cane Corso, which share similar characteristics to XL bullies. Some news outlets have labelled the Cane Corso the UK's new status dog in the wake of the XL bully ban. In fact, in the weeks following the ban, puppies.co.uk reported a 47% decline in online searches for XL bully and a 36% increase in searches for Cane Corsos. Approximately 170,000 Google searches for Cane Corsos followed the ban, with the website predicting the breed would become an alternative for XL bully fans. Since the ban, there has also been an increase in high-profile news stories surrounding these breeds, with many celebrities from J-Lo to Marcus Rashford posting their beloved dogs online and no doubt driving demand for this large breed. However, negative stories of Cane Corsos are also making the news. Notably, influencer Jack Fincham recently receiving a prison sentence for his Cane Corso being dangerously out of control. Reports of several attacks in 2025 list Cane Corsos as the culprit. The media is a double-edged sword. While celebrity influencers may drive demand, these large, powerful breeds often need specialist care and training, and with more and more inexperienced owners taking them on, the risks of attacks has the potential to increase. News stories with sensational headlines are already in the press, so how long until a media frenzy which drives public fear and opens the debate surrounding XL bullies to extend into this breed? This could in turn lead to unnecessary restrictions, again, on responsible pet owners. Also, it could lead to increased financial costs associated with large breeds. For example, the cost to insure a Cane Corso is reported as being 3 times more expensive than that of a Chihuahua already. This could in turn lead to less owners accessing insurance and being able to provide suitable health care to other large breeds. The ban was introduced in response to public outcry largely, so what does that mean for other large breeds? Arguably, this could lead to restrictions on Cane Corso, Bull Mastiffs, Presa Canario, and other similar breeds, even if many of these dogs may be responsibly owned and not pose a heightened risk. There is the potential this action could set a precedent with cascading effects for other large breeds, which begs the question, should all large powerful breeds capable of such harm be subject to restrictions? And if so, where does it end? Is it working? The effectiveness of the XL bully ban remains an ongoing debate, with many politicians and animal charities fiercely contesting its success. On one hand, there has been a reduction in the number of XL bully dogs seen in public spaces. Some may argue that this has decreased the fear surrounding the breed. However, since the ban was imposed, the Office for National Statistics reported 7 deaths from dog attacks in the UK, with 19 deaths recorded in 2023 and 6 in 2022. NHS England reports a rise in dog bites, with 10,924 incidents in the year 23 to 24, compared to 9,424 the year previous. 15 months after the ban came into place, the breed continues to dominate headlines. At the time of researching, March 2025, an XL bull attack is headline news. The number of attacks and injuries attributed to XL bullies, including fatal incidents, continues to be a major concern, calling into question whether the ban is truly addressing the underlying issue of dangerous dog behaviour. While the intention of the ban to reduce dog attacks and increase public safety is admirable, has the ban taken a bite out of the problem, or is it barking up the wrong tree altogether? The utilitarian analysis suggests that any ban on XL bullies should consider both positive and negative consequences carefully. To maximise the overall happiness and reduce overall harm, it's important to ensure the rights of responsible dog owners and the welfare of dogs is not disproportionately harmed. Additionally, broader consequences on other breeds could affect overall happiness and well-being. As with the large animal charities, it is my opinion that a reactive ban on breed is not a curative action for dog attacks, and as such, policies should focus on addressing the root causes of dangerous dog behaviour, such as irresponsible breeding and training, rather than banning specific breeds. By targeting a specific breed rather than addressing these broader issues, the ban may not be as effective in preventing future incidents. This suggests that the policy may not be the most efficient means of maximising the greatest good for all, especially if it leads to the unnecessary suffering of many dogs while not substantially improving public safety. The ban seems unfairly biased against certain breed specifics. XL bullies have been implicated in the increase in dog attacks and fatalities, but while the government declared the involvement of XLs as disproportionate, official statistics on breeds to attacks ratios is extremely limited. Pit Bull Terriers have been banned since 1991, but news stories implicating pit bulls have been reported regularly ever since. Most recently, a 3-year-old girl suffering injury from an attack by a pit bull in 2024, a breed which has been banned in excess of 30 years. Drawing into question the efficacy of banning breeds. Significantly, in 2025, tragic details of a miniature dachshund killing a 1-month-old baby have reached the news. The owners had expressed concern to their vet, who refused to euthanize the animal. Sadly, the infant fatality ensued. If a breed as small and innocuous as a sausage dog, which have grown massively in popularity over recent years, is capable of this severity of attack, we must question the efficacy of a ban on certain breeds and begin to consider if the bans are simply missing the point and as a result failing to maintain public safety. Ultimately, it appears the ban has failed in addressing the root causes of dog attacks, such as irresponsible breeding, lack of training and poor ownership. Instead of reducing harm, the ban appears to have shifted the problem, causing harm to the dogs themselves, their owners, public services, and significant financial harm to taxpayers in enforcing the ban. To truly solve the issue of dangerous dogs, a more comprehensive and holistic approach is needed, regardless of breed, one that addresses irresponsible breeding practices and promotes responsible ownership, focusing on education and rehabilitation of all breeds of dogs. The current ethical issue revisits ongoing critical questions about the effectiveness of breed-specific legislation, unfairness in law and policy, and a lack of effort entirely to solve the root causes of dog attacks.